Hello, I'm Michael Marsh, and welcome to the program dedicated to reestablishing constitutional government, first in Oregon and then in the United States. With me today is Merlyn Shannon.
Yes.
She's going to talk about a couple things, one of which is getting rid of the funding for abortions. And every now and then, my co-host, Camo, will pop up on your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Camo.
Well, she's taking a nap right now. She might sleep the whole half hour, but we'll see. So, Merlyn, you have an initiative going on. Tell us about it.
Well, it's the initiative to stop public funding of abortion, at least Oregon's public funding. And every day in Oregon, 10 babies are destroyed, and majority of that is public funded. And in the last 14 years, we have spent nearly $24 million to destroy the lives of 52,400 babies. And Oregon has absolutely no restrictions on abortion. The veterinary clinics, beauty shops, tattoo parlors, they have all kinds of things to make sure that the business carried on there is safe for the client. And there is nothing to protect the mother, and of course they're there to destroy the baby.
Yeah.
And do you care if I just say some more?
Go ahead.
Well, also, a long time ago, I was just reading it today, in the Old Testament there was the Ammonites, and they had a false god, Moloch, and their babies were, firstborn was thrown into a fire like a volcano, and that's how they sacrificed their babies, their firstborn. The rest of them could live. And in Oregon, we are sacrificing our babies on the altar of convenience. It's it's not time, I'm not ready, this is the wrong sex, I'm not going to have this baby. Anything the mother and father or just the mother comes up with, they can destroy their baby because it's not convenient.
Well,
and it's really not the American way, yeah?
I'm a firm believer that the God of the Democrat Party is also the God that the ancients called Moloch. Sometimes they call him Baal.
Yeah. False god.
Yeah.
The Democrats have really pounded that stake in the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Their policy is that you cannot run for office and get money from the party unless you're pro-abortion. In fact, not too long ago, just a few months ago, there was talk that to open up and increase the Democrats, they were going to say that, they could be pro-abortion. And the women's movement said, you do that and we're gone. We will not vote Democrat if you allow any pro-life candidate to be supported.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No, it's not. And like you said, there is no limit here in Oregon. Third trimester, right up to the 9th month, they can have the abortion. And I think the people who perform the abortions, it's a spiritual thing. And once you get in the 3rd trimester, I think the women that do that, it's also spiritual.
It's very much. In fact, even in the 2nd trimester, the baby's just growing.
Yeah.
It takes warmth from the mother and food and gets rid of its waste. That's it. Otherwise, it's a complete person.
Yeah.
And it is really a sad thing. And so many women wake up one day and realize that it was wrong what they did, and they, it'd been better to give it up and adopt the baby. But one day, I lived in Ellensburg, Washington, and I'd been working with some parents of some books that were kind of bad in the schools, and they got rid of them. But 2 ladies called me up, and one was on the phone and said, Mrs. Shannon, we heard you're a Democrat. I don't think you really are. And I said, oh, yes, I am. And they said, may we come and visit you tomorrow? And this was 1978. I said, yes, you're welcome. And they came, and they, I'd never seen them before, and I never have seen them since, but they just gave me both party platforms. And they said, you just read what, because you think you're for the working man and the Republicans for the rich, but just read, especially the moral stance on those issues. And I said, I will. And I didn't even have their number to call them back. And I read it, and I switched because I thought, oh my goodness, these people aren't. But I'd like to say something about the moral issues.
Okay.
Because some people say you can't legislate morality.
Yes, you can.
But every vote is based on somebody's moral compass. Just like people say it's immoral. They have had 4 wrecks at that intersection. They need a stop sign or a light. It's immoral. And it is immoral to save lives. And that's just about every law is based on somebody's morality. And so it's a fake thing to say you can't legislate morality.
Yeah, if you don't legislate morality, why shouldn't I be able to steal?
Yeah, right. It's a false fight or a false thing to say you can't do it, because people do it all the time. Every time I was a senator, and every time you open up that file to look to see, well, how does it fit? It's how does it fit my moral compass?
Yeah.
And so, but we have a website, and our website, I want to get it right, is stopthefunding.org, and the stop is a capital, and funding is a capital F, but it's all no spaces. Stopthefunding.org. You can download the petition and sign it and mail it in, and you can get a single petition or 5 or 10 names, and get some people. We already have over 17,000 signatures, and but we need to get about 50,000 more. And we just had a wonderful, 10 days ago, a wonderful rallies in Portland and Salem and Medford. And we had 2,000 people plus came to it. And Mike Huckabee, who's on TV, he came and he told us his story about, it took them a couple times, but they got it in their Constitution. No public money will go for the destruction of human life, and inspired us, to not give up. He was very good. He said, I'll share what he said about his daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. He said, she's just fit for the job. He said, she has 3 preschoolers, and she's used to people asking her the same dumb question 6 times. Wasn't that fun? Yeah. So, and she is good. Yeah,
she is.
But they keep asking. Go ahead.
And she has the patience.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Which really helps in her job.
Yeah, he says, I don't know where she gets all that. Must be from her mother. But yeah. But he was really good, and he really fired us up. And the one thing, they had several panels. One of them was the women that help young women, married women, whatever, choose life or abortion, and they help them, get strollers and cribs and all this stuff. There's so much help at these. There's several of them in Salem that they help the girls with their babies. So it's not just, some people say, oh, those church people, they just want the babies born, but the help is there to help them too. Mm-hmm.
You were at Washington, in Washington, D.C. recently.
Yes.
How'd that go?
Yeah, every state in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, they have one man and one woman who goes and is like on the board of directors. And I'm the woman for Oregon. The chairman can be man or woman, but there's always one woman and one man. And we had a great meeting. It was all last week, and we didn't pass any new rules, but we worked on a resolution that isn't ready yet, but we're working on one to ask the president to pardon the Hammonds and the Bundys, the people that had the ranches and all that stuff, and spent so much money and time and all that. And finally, we're well, not found innocent, but it was all dropped. And
Yeah.
so, but we also passed some other resolutions that can't remember them right now, but we and we had excellent speeches. I guess the good news was that our party has we're $38 million in the black, and the Democrat Party has 400,000 on hand, and they're in debt, I don't know, 6 or 7 million. But people are not giving to the party, but there's the dark money. It's in the Republican Party, and the billionaires are active, like the Koch brothers with the Republicans and George Soros with the Democrats. George Soros gives to different environmental group, and then they contribute to our governor. They're heavy for her. He has an was quoted in an article when she became Secretary of State, how that year he put so many millions in races, and one of them was Kate Brown. Yeah. And that he's one of her trophies. But he didn't give it to her directly. He gave it to an environmental group. Just like the Koch brothers are Republicans, and they're giving money to certain groups, and then they give to certain candidates, and their big goal is, and I don't know why, I can't figure it out, but they want a constitutional convention. It's called a con. And if people don't know about it, it's working, behind the scenes all across America. And what it does is they want Congress to call for a convention of states, which is the precursor to the con. And unfortunately, Hannity and quite a few Cruz and quite a few Republicans are taking his money, and you cannot control a con.
No.
Once the gavel goes down, it's like when our founding fathers met to tweak the Bill of Rights and came out with a whole new Constitution.
Yeah.
But once the gavel goes down, our whole Constitution is up for grabs. And my belief is the Second Amendment will be one of the first to go, because in Oregon, in the last legislative session, it was a Republican that carried the gun bill, Brian Boquist. And so I think there are enough Republicans and most all the Democrats against the Second Amendment that we'll lose it.
And religious freedom, and
we'll lose
probably
a lot.
the right to speak out on issues.
Isn't it amazing how they're trying to do on the campuses and all over, and they do not want... They want to make it illegal for the conservatives to speak?
Yeah.
I just read something, I can't remember, it was so outrageous this week, but the colleges have just gone nuts.
Yeah, it's time to stop funding them.
Really? I don't know what to do. Yeah. But I know in Colorado they had that guy that says he was an Indian, and he was teaching all kinds of garbage, But the governor appoints the Board of Education, and people put pressure on the governor, and he got enough people on the board that, he had to go. But it's terrible how they have, made it illegal for conservatives. But when there was a demonstration up in Portland, I went to it last summer, and Joey, I forgot his last name, but he had the rally on federal land, and in fact the mayor of Portland just said he doesn't want any more demonstrations because he can't protect them. Yeah. But John Kelly was the head of the Homeland Security then, and there was no problem. They were all screaming and making their money and noise and everything, but when they started to come, the federal people protecting us, they did those noise bombs or something. We thought maybe shots were being fired, but they backed up. And you can protect them if the mayor would have the police do the job.
Which he didn't want to do the job.
No, he didn't want to do the job. In fact, I have even Democrat friends that say it's pitiful what's happening in Portland.
Yeah.
It's just going to pot.
Yeah. And a lot of it's... not only they're not doing a good job, but real expensive to live there. You know, people are moving out, but they're still Democrats. You know, what are they going to do? Make Kaiser like Portland?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't know, and I don't know when Oregon will wake up. I do think that a lot more people in Oregon now there are pro-Trump groups, you know, popping up all over, and they like his policies. They may not like his tweets, but they do like his policies, and his policies have really helped us. I don't know, most people are getting a bigger paycheck this month.
Yeah.
Because of it. I liked his other policy where he said, I want to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And at the United Nations, these countries said what stupid we were and how filthy we were and blah, blah, blah. And Our Lady up there, she said, fine, we're going to cut off our funds to you. And that funds are now coming to Americans who earned it. And when I was driving here, I was thinking that one thing I wanted to say was that if you travel much, especially overseas, there really are no third world countries anymore. And I have a grandson that graduated with some kind of degree about foreign countries and I don't know what, and I mentioned to him that, and he said, no, they're called developing countries. But he said that no, because they have paved roads, they have, you know, everything we do. They have, I mean, McDonald's is all over every town I've ever gone to, and I've been a little bit, and so they can take care of their own people. We hardworking Americans can keep our money at home and help our people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the first things we need to do is get us out of the UN. I've been saying that for a long time.
Well, he's threatening that. You know, Mr. Trump, President Trump, has been saying that well, should we, you know, quit funding the UN? So let them go to Belgium, or not Belgium, but yeah, you know, over in there in the Netherlands. They seem to like him so much. Hello. Oh, going to have a stretch?
Yeah. Yeah, this is Camel, by the way.
Yeah. You greeted me at the curb, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, she's my co-host.
Yeah, she does a good job.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's remind people about the abortion here in Oregon.
Well, the cutoff is going to be, we have to have the signatures by July 1st. That's the absolute, but we have to send them in earlier because so they can see if they've been. Right now we have, there used to be, you know, they looked at them and they would throw out so many pages if there was one not perfect. Yeah. But now they're kind of doing it individually because.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And so
that's a lot better.
Yeah, it's a lot more fair.
Yeah.
But of course, we're checking them out. We have technology too, and we're making sure we're not sending in doubles the best we can. So, and if anybody wonders if they sign it, they can go to stopthefunding.org, O-R-G, and see if they've signed it. There's a spot where you just type in your name, and it'll tell you, well, you've already signed or you haven't, and then you can download one. And I should say, too, that I used to say I'm the first Shannon in the book, but now we have Wave, and we get our phone through Wave, so we're not in the phone book. But I am Merlyn Shannon, and my phone number is 503-559-3011. And I would help anybody get petitions or answer any questions. I've been actively involved in the Republican Party since the late 70s and been on the executive committee for 25 years. And I would be glad to help anybody. So.
Yeah, I remember when I became a Republican activist, you were
right
we
there.
did a lot of stuff together.
Right, yeah. I really, you know, I've been county chairman, a lot of positions in the party. So, And we're really working hard. Got candidates for almost every seat filing, so
That's good.
yeah. But it's hard because the public unions are really
Yeah.
Democrat, so
It'd be nice if we could make it so that the government unions weren't able to participate in the
well, there are a lot of the
political
members
process.
don't want to have to pay all of that.
Yeah.
And I have relatives that work, and they say the unions never helped me. They had different things that went wrong, and so it would be good if people have a choice, you know.
Yeah.
At least their political funds, maybe they should pay their dues, but at least they shouldn't be able to grab their.
Yeah, they shouldn't be able to use it. They shouldn't be able to, as a union, participate in the elections.
But they do.
Yeah. And you know, they elect the politician, and then they work with the politician to get bills passed. Hello, talk about a conflict of interest.
Well, it was mainly the teachers' union that gathered the signatures in the 58 so that public employees could serve in the legislature. And then the public employees got in the legislature, then they started PERS in the 60s, and then they said the board should be made up of all PERS employees. And then when the Republicans took control in 95, they said, no, the majority should be taxpayers. But when the employees were in charge of PERS board, they never updated the actuaries, you know, how people were living longer and all that. But it kind of got corrected, and tier 2 came in then, and then a little bit later tier 3, I think. But
Yeah, I think I remember they had about 3 different tiers.
yeah, but the tier 1 employees that retire, it's the 5th best in retirement system in the world.
I'll bet.
So yes, because I know people that are earning more retired than when they worked.
Yeah, that's insane.
In Washington State, they only earn half their salary, but not Oregon.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do about it. Everybody says, ain't it awful, but nothing happens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
Maybe
if the legislature does do something, they take it to the court, and the judges.
well, the
are on
judge, yeah.
Oh,
One time
dear.
I was working for a candidate running for the House, and I know I have it someplace because I was shocked, but a judge wrote a letter to the candidate, said his name, and said, fix our retirement, because the judges, most of them are on PERS. Some are on a different public, but it's all public run, you know. Yeah. Yeah, they decided, yeah, it's kind of a conflict of interest.
Just a little bit.
But nobody does anything about it. So what else can we talk about?
So, again, you know, we've got about a little over 5 minutes left. We'll run down the initiative again.
Sure.
Remind people why we need to stop the funding of
Well,
abortion.
yeah, abortions can go on, and Planned Parenthood, they have lots of donors. If anybody
Oh, yeah.
wants a free abortion, you just go online and I want an abortion, and there's all kinds of places. And the last laws that were passed, Kate Brown signed, we're now the abortion capital of the world. Anybody can come here. You don't have to be a citizen. They'll have, you know, we pay for them.
Yeah.
And it's just a terrible destruction of innocent babies, and they're people. They're not
Yeah.
frogs. And I remember one time I asked Bob Packwood, when do you think life begins? And because that's what they're saying, it's not really life. And we were at Dorchester in Seaside, and he said, Merlyn, anybody that's taken high school biology knows that if it's growing, it has life.
Yeah.
And the life begins at conception. But the legal question is, when does this baby have a right to live? And that's what it is. It's not whether it's a baby or anybody that's honest knows it's a baby.
Yeah.
And that we're killing babies. And of course, 3 weeks, their own heart is already beating and manufacturing its own blood, and it just needs to grow, you know, and get stronger. But I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, so we destroy 10 babies a day in Oregon, and about 1,900 are have been late term. You know, they're very viable, and you know the cervix is not ripe when you bring a baby out of the womb, and so they have to cut off their arms and their legs and sometimes crush their heads and all of these things. And of course, we saw those people that went and interviewed Planned Parenthood a while back. They tried to protect the liver and certain organs because the Planned Parenthood gets a good price for the organs. Yeah. It's pitiful. But anyways, so in Oregon, we have no restrictions on abortion. It's just whatever, you know, like I said, the veterinary clinics and the tattoo parlors and the nail shops and all of those places, there's more restrictions for safety than there are in abortion clinics. And I was telling you before we went on the air, I knew a woman in Milwaukee, and one day her daughter was in the 10th grade, and they said, you need to get to the hospital right away with your insurance information because your daughter, they had an abortion and it was botched and she's bleeding heavily, and you need to get there and get her admitted so they'll give her the blood and you know, help her. And so the girls can go and nobody knows it unless there's a problem, you know, but there's they don't have anything, no blood to help them if they have a problem at the abortion clinics. No restrictions on the cleanliness, nothing, there's just nothing that's inspected. And, but we're gathering signatures, and we need 50,000 more signatures. We have 117,000, and you can go to our website, which is Stop the Funding, and it's capital STF for Stop the Funding, all one word, .org. And that's our website. You can order our petition, download it, print it. There are some that are just single. It tells you what to do. If you get others to sign that, then, and you have to sign it at the bottom. Be sure you fill that out. That says, you know, you witnessed him. Yeah. And there's no age limit. In fact, my 14-year-old granddaughter's been helping me. We go to some rallies, and an 8-year-old can get somebody to sign it. It's really kind of fun.
Can't sign it herself, but she can get somebody else to sign it.
You don't even have to be from Oregon. Yeah. But whoever signs it has to be a registered voter. Yeah. And if you're not, you can just go. Most banks have voter registration forms. Schools have them. Of course, the county clerk, post office, the county clerk. Be sure and be registered. And people say, I don't want to be involved in politics, but it's like a drowning man saying, I'm not interested in water, because you cannot widen your driveway or remodel any part of your house without going to the city hall, getting a permit, doing all this stuff. You're involved in politics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so we need to be a part of it and find out what the two parties stand for, because they're like night and day. Between them. And the one, of course, is for the Democrats on the moral issues. It's really, they're for all the transgender in the military. You know, when anybody that believes they're in the wrong body can just join the military and get their operations and then get out, and then the military has to provide them their medicine and hormones the rest of their life.
Yeah, what I don't understand on that, if they're allowed to do that while they're in the military,
take off to go get their surgery.
It's understandable, you know, if afterwards, but you know, because they're not going to be able to fight while they're going through all this.
No.
And we're out of time, and I want to thank you for coming on the program.
You're welcome.
Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Okay.